Hey guys, I just wanted to create a quick video slash vlog of what I did inside my PC, why I used what I did, and show you how my run looks. Alright, so to start things out with, I'm going to talk about the fans that I used. I used Corsair ML Pro series fans, or at least the maglev series. So this one's the 140 millimeter magnetic levitation fan. I've got the boxes for the others, but they're all pretty much the same. We'll get to that in a minute. So this is the liquid that I used. I used Primo Chill True concentrated premix coolant. This is my UV green that I haven't used yet. I ran with the UV blue because I thought this is actually the UV blue that's sitting inside this. This is the UV green that I used inside my computer, and I think it looks really great. I do like the pastel fluids, but every fluid that I was looking at looked like it was going to be a pain to dispose of, whereas this one looks like, or from everything I've read, that it was just basically water with a little bit of stuff in it so I could wash it down the drain once I finished cleaning it out. So this is why I ran with this and not the other kinds of fluids that I was looking at. Plus, it didn't look like it was going to dye anything green, and I was really worried that it was going to dye my radiators green. Now, moving on to my tubing. I used glass tubing because of its sheen, its brilliance, and just the resiliency that it was going to have over any other kind of tube. I think PETG and acrylic tube looks really nice, but I don't think it holds a candle to glass. And just seeing the 90s inside of glass tubing is just really amazing. If you look at that 90, it's just so nice. And then both of these are 12 millimeter diameter tubing that I got from Mayhem's. The glass tubing I actually ordered directly from Mayhem's, and they were out of stock according to what they told me, and I had to wait weeks for it to ship. But once it got here, I'm really glad I waited for it because it really makes the system. So moving on to the system, I've got my Bitspower reservoir, and then my Bitspower aqua pipe. And then I've got the mounts bolted just directly to the case for the reservoir. And then from the reservoir, it goes down into my pump that you can see right there. And then from the pump, it goes out into my radiator. And then the radiator uses the maglev fans that I talked about to blow the hot air out. And then from there, it goes into Bitspower fittings. All my Bitspower fittings are the black sparkle fittings. And the reason I chose black sparkle is I thought it would give it a little bit of shine to it, but it wouldn't be just like chrome, so it would stand out a little bit, but it wouldn't be super bright. And I think it ties in really nicely with the gray and black trim on side of my motherboard. But anyways, it comes out of the radiator, through the glass tubing, and then through more fittings, into this bridge, into the graphics cards, back out the bridge, and then it goes up into my radiator, and then out the radiator into my motherboard, and then it cools down the VRMs. And then from the VRMs, it goes into my CPU, and then out my CPU, and then back into my reservoir. And that is my loop. So I want to talk about my radiators. I originally purchased two Hardware Labs radiators, a 360 that you can see up here, and then I had a 280 up front, but this is not a 280 Hardware Labs radiator. This is actually a Koolance 280, and I had to switch because I didn't want to modify my case. The Hardware Labs, I actually would have had to cut into this and cut this bit out, and I didn't want to cut my case because I wasn't sure if I was actually going to be able to clean it up and make it look as nice as I wanted it to. So I got the Koolance because according to the specs it would fit down into my basement like I needed it to. And once I got it, it actually had a white Koolance logo symbol thing right here that I really wasn't happy with. So I took a really fine sandpaper and sanded the whole radiator down, sanded off the logo, and then I repainted it with a black, and this is what I was left with. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I think it actually looks better than the Hardware Labs, but probably not by a whole lot. Now, up top, on a normal Phanteks Evolv case, there's normally a plate that sits about right here, and then you mount your radiator and your fans to it. And if I had done that, my fans would have probably been sitting on top of my tube right here, and it wouldn't have looked good, it wouldn't fit good. So what I did instead is I went to Lowe's and I bought some plate that I drilled some holes in. Well, I cut it to size, and then I drilled some holes in and then mounted my radiator just to these plates, which are being pinched onto the frame of the case. And from my understanding, I think there's some mods where people will cut the frames right here so that the fans will actually fit up inside of it, and then you can still use the mounting plate below, or I'm not entirely sure exactly how they use it, but it creates about the same kind of effect that I've got here. And all of this is to cool an i7 7700K that I can clock up to 5.1 gigahertz, but currently with how hot it runs because of Intel messing up with the TIM on the CPU, I'm going to be deleting it and showing the results of that in a future video. And then that's plugged into an Asus Maximus 9 Formula motherboard, and I got this so that I could cool my motherboard. And then I've got Gel Super Luce RAM, and I got this to light up. I'm not sure I'm actually happy with them inside this system because the white light on that kind of detracts from the UV fluid that I'm running inside my system, but I don't think it necessarily takes away so much that it looks bad. It kind of stands out, which I'm not entirely sure it's a bad thing. And then I've got two GTX 1080 graphics cards. These are the EVGA For the Win down-tuned editions. I didn't see a reason to pay an extra $50 to get the factory overclock on it when I'm going to be overclocking it myself either way. And then all my water blocks are EK water blocks. All my tubing is glass tubing that I bought from Mayhem's. My cables are EVGA series cable mod cables that I got from EVGA. And then my power supply that I've taken the sticker off of, that's an EVGA 750 watt power supply. And yes, it is more than enough power to power all of this. Alright, now I'm going to talk about the back of my case. And yes, my cables are a mess. And yes, you can see it because there's a glass panel that sits in front of it. But with how they normally sit inside there, I don't think it looks too bad when you look through the glass. But with how I have my case inside my office, you never really see the back of it anyways, so it doesn't matter. And then down here in my basement, you can see my pump. You can see my tubing, you can see my tubing coming off of my reservoir going down into my pump. And this is my dirty little secret because you can see the pipe clamp that I put right here to help make sure that this tubing right here doesn't pinch and I continually get flow. And when I drain the system, I do plan on putting in probably some 45s and probably a little sneaky fitting right here so that I can connect these two pieces without any kinks or having this ugly pipe fitting on there. And then it comes up the side of this pump and it comes through here. It goes to my drain valve that I've got right here. I cut a piece of tubing so the plug and the fitting wouldn't be scratching up my case, and then it flows up into my radiator. So that's what I did inside of my PC. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comments section below. I'd love to interact with you. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.